6 months pregnant, I had a huge fight with Finn and was kicked out of the house. I had no money and sought warmth in a convenience store at the corner of the street. Just as I was staring blankly at the steam from the Odin, a store clerk approached me. "Hello, we have one last bottle of Amnesia water left in the store. Would you like it?" I froze, then gave a wry smile. "I don't have money," she said. "It doesn't require money, just something from your body in exchange." Subconsciously, I raised my hand and touched the swollen belly. "Is it okay?" I pushed open the convenience store door. A cold breeze instantly rushed into my neck. I hadn't taken more than a few steps when Finn's voice came from behind. "Lila Chin. Have you had enough of this Nalgalamio?" I turned around and saw him running towards me. He hadn't even changed his shoes, still wearing his fluffy home slippers. "How old are you?" "Playing the runaway game. I'm 6 months pregnant and still so angry. What if something happens outside at this late hour?" Back then, I would definitely not let him say a word, and we could argue so loudly that the whole street could hear. But today I just listened silently. Too tired to argue with him. He cursed for a while, probably because I was unusually quiet. Instead, he slowly put out the fire and his expression softened. He sighed and reached out to hug my waist, pulling me closer to him. "All right, it's cold outside, let's go home." Back home, the warmth enveloped my body. He crouched down, replaced my slippers for me, and looked up at me. "Are you hungry? What do you want to eat? I'll cook it for you." I shook my head. "Not hungry." But he frowned. "You didn't eat anything last night because you were angry. How could you not be hungry? If you're not hungry, the baby inside you still needs to eat." He didn't even wait for my response and walked straight into the kitchen. Soon after, he brought out a bowl of seafood noodles that was absurdly hearty. Oysters, sea cucumbers, and lobster meat piled so high they were overflowing, steaming hot. He was born into a wealthy family, with his hands never touching a single drop of spring water. But ever since I got pregnant, he wouldn't let me order takeout and refused to hire a nanny, stubbornly insisting on personally preparing my 3 meals a day. But his cooking skills are really terrible. Seasoning is basically done through boiling with a little salt at most. But I have a heavy taste, can't enjoy food without spice. "Is it delicious?" He sat opposite me, looking at me and asking. I nodded, picked up a pair of chopsticks and made a faint sound. The seafood wasn't handled well, the strong fishy smell mixed with the bland broth, making me feel sick all over. I suppressed my nausea and swallowed slowly, one bite at a time. His phone suddenly rang sharply. "The company has an urgent matter." As he spoke, he grabbed his coat and car keys. "Stay home and don't go out anymore." He slammed the door and left. I put down my chopsticks, looking at the bowl of noodles that was still more than half full. My stomach finally couldn't hold back and churned violently. I rushed into the bathroom and threw up until I was dizzy. After vomiting, I leaned against the cold tile wall, tears streaming uncontrollably. I don't want to live this bland and disgusting life anymore. I immediately pulled out my phone and quickly ordered a super spicy hot pot and 3 pounds of spicy crayfish. The takeout arrived soon. I ate until I was completely satisfied. This was the most comfortable meal I've had with Finn since we started dating. After finishing eating, I lay alone in the spacious double bed, sleepless all night. Finn didn't come back all week. Nor did he send a single message. The next morning he finally called back, his tone as commanding as always. "I left an important document in my study room. Please rush it to the Y Resort Hotel for me." I didn't ask many questions, found the document and took a taxi to that hotel. At the grand entrance, I was stopped by security. "Sorry ma'am, this is a members-only establishment. An internal invitation is required to enter." I took out my phone and called Finjo. Once, twice. No one answered. 2 in the cold wind, I tightened my down jacket and waited for nearly an hour. When my feet started to feel numb from the cold, I saw Finjo's Chin assistant, hurrying out from inside. Apologies, madam, Mr. Zhou is in a meeting." He apologized repeatedly. He took me to a large villa, saying that Finjo has been working here these days. When Finjo saw me, his brow tightened immediately. "Why are you dragging your feet so long to send a file? Can't even handle such a small task." "I arrived a long time ago but couldn't get in through the door. I called you many times." I tried to explain. He just wouldn't listen and impatiently interrupted. "Alright, stop making excuses. In your condition, you still think about going out to work? You can't even deliver documents properly, what else can you do? My heart felt like it was pricked by a needle. I've mentioned many times before that I wanted to continue working, but he refused. Finn, you still don't need women to go out and earn a living, just stay at home and relax. I took a breath and suppressed my emotions. The document has arrived, I'll head back first if there's nothing else. What's the rush? His tone softened a bit. Go wait in the office, I'll take you for dinner after the meeting. Before I could refuse, he was already being surrounded by a group of people and heading towards the conference room. Chin assistant led me to the office. As soon as the door was pushed open, the office was like a beauty pageant. 7 or 8 young, pretty girls sat behind their desks, each with exquisite makeup and stylish attire. Finn had 2 strict requirements when hiring a female secretary. First, she is beautiful. Second, her age must be under 25. The outside world jokingly calls her secretariat the Zhou Family Beauty Squad. Wearing a bulky down jacket, I walked among them, like a penguin who had mistakenly entered a swan lake. I couldn't care less about sitting on the sofa. The secretary's curious gazes stuck to me. I heard them whispering in low but clear voices. Who is that? A new face, wearing an extremely short miniskirt with eyes staring directly at me. She touched Chin assistant and asked in a coquettish voice. Chin assistant, who is this? Chin assistant whispered, this is the wife of General Zhou. That little secretary's eyes widened instantly, and she spoke a little louder in astonishment. Mrs. Zhou? Is she a celebrity? Why is she covered so tightly? Assistant Chin shook his head. No. That little secretary pouted. Sour and mocking tone. Oh, not a celebrity? Not a celebrity and still wearing a hat and mask. So dressed up, afraid people will recognize you, huh? The other girl next to her gently pulled her. Her gaze was insolent as she looked at me again, her voice filled with malice. Is it because you're not very good looking? And look at her figure, she's so fat like a water barrel. I lowered my eyes. The heavy down jacket couldn't hide my bulky and distorted figure. After getting pregnant, my weight changed day by day and all my curves disappeared. As for why I wear a mask and a hat, it's because of Finn. He said he was doing business to protect me, that he had offended many people and feared I would be targeted. Chin assisted in scolding her softly. Don't talk nonsense. General Zhou loves his wife very much. Be more respectful. The little secretary pouted, looking completely unimpressed, and rolled her eyes. I waved calmly at her. You go. Pour me a cup of coffee. Finn came out after the meeting. He immediately noticed the coffee in front of me and his brow tightened instantly. Who poured you coffee? That little secretary immediately stood up, volunteering to take credit. General Zhou, I poured the tea for Madame. Finn Zhou's gaze suddenly swept towards her, scolding sharply. Pour it out. The smug expression on the face of the little secretary froze instantly. She approached shakily, her hands trembling slightly, nearly spilling the coffee as she picked it up. What's wrong with you? Finn turned his gaze to me, his tone full of reproach. Can you drink coffee now? Do I have to remind you of this common sense time and time again? How old are you? She doesn't know how to behave and neither do you. 3. The entire outer office's secretarial area was deathly silent. All the girls lowered their heads, afraid to anger him. My heart was twisted painfully by his words. I swallowed the sourness in my throat, tugged at the corner of his clothes, and broke the suffocating atmosphere proactively, whispering softly. I'm hungry. He remained calm, took out his phone, and instructed the hotel to deliver the nutritional meal to his room. The meal arrived quickly. The presentation was exquisite. The ingredients were high-end, light and healthy, completely meeting his requirements. He didn't sit down to keep me company. You can eat slowly, I still have a team dinner just in the courtyard below. I walked to the balcony facing the courtyard. Saw what he called his team dinner. By the long buffet table. His beauty secretary squad surrounded him in dazzling attire, with charming smiles playing on their faces. He posed with wild abandon, holding a wine glass in one hand. The other hand naturally rested on the back of the chair of the secretary beside him. He looked like an emperor, adored and supreme. That secretary was his favorite concubine. Memory suddenly flashed back to a few years ago. Back then we had just gotten married. I had been jealous of his overly flashy team of secretaries and had insisted on him replacing them. He laughed at me for being petty, saying that secretaries were the face of the company and told me to be reasonable and not to cause trouble. He cradled my face, vowing that for the rest of his life, both body and soul would only have me. Over the years he had indeed seemed to have never been involved in any scandalous rumors with anyone. But now in the courtyard downstairs, that little secretary in the short skirt, laughing prettily, picked up a grape and held it to his lips. He didn't hesitate, taking it down naturally. My nose seemed to be tightly blocked by that grape, making it suddenly difficult to breathe. Next, the little secretary stood up, apparently wanting to go to the nearby swing set. Accidentally, his legs went weak and he exclaimed in shock. The whole person fell into Finjo's arms. Finjo's hand naturally supported her waist, teasingly saying with a smile, "Did you make you lose weight when you were young and now you can't even walk properly?" As he said, he carried the little secretary crosswise and walked a few steps to the swing, gently placing her on it. Eyes stung painfully from the scene. I gripped the cold phone in my hand tightly, using all my strength. Amnesia threw it down towards the dazzling shouts and laughter downstairs. Thump. The phone heavily crashed into the Hungwon Yongchu in the center of the courtyard, splashing up a huge wave of water. The playful sounds below abruptly stopped. Everyone was startled by this sudden commotion and looked up in horror. Finjo also raised his head, his gaze accurately finding me on the balcony. Across the vast distance I locked eyes with him. Leaning on the balcony railing, I shouted at the blurry figure in a hoarse voice, "Finjo! Get up here right now!" Finjo came very quickly. He pushed open the door, his face ashen. I grabbed the pillow nearby and threw it hard at him. He didn't dodge, the pillow softly hitting him. His gaze was grim. "What are you causing trouble about?" I pointed to the healthy meal on the table in front of me. "Why can you eat barbecue and drink alcohol but I can only eat this stuff?" He said coldly, "Lila-chan, you should be reasonable. You're pregnant and the doctor advised a light diet. None of this is for your own good. Once the child is born, whatever you want to eat, I'll do it for you. Can you do that? It's a child again. How much more must I sacrifice for the child? Besides, I don't like children at all. It was because he unilaterally replaced my birth control pills that I got pregnant." He came over, picked up the chopsticks and picked up a piece of boiled green vegetable to feed me. His tone softened as if coaxing a mischievous child. "Ah, open your mouth." I abruptly turned my head, avoiding the green vegetable, and tears uncontrollably welled up. Child, is that all you see? Because of this child, I don't even have the freedom to eat? I am a living person, not your breeding machine." Finjo's expression darkened completely as he heavily put down his chopsticks. "You're also going to be a mother. Can't you stop being so willful and reckless?" He sat beside me, reaching over and forcefully twisted my shoulders. "Calm down, stop playing around. Just endure for another 4 months and the baby will be born. After having this child, we won't have any more." He picked up the bowl again, scooped a spoonful of rice and brought it to my lips. His gaze was stubborn, as if he wouldn't stop until I finished eating. I couldn't resist, so I opened my mouth and mechanically swallowed the tasteless food. He just did, feeding me bite by bite, almost forcing me to finish the meal. "You're so good." He finally seemed satisfied, raising his hand to touch my head, but I subconsciously dodged it. His hand froze in midair, his gaze dark and heavy. A cautious knock came from outside the door. The little secretary from before pushed open the door and peered in halfway, holding a plate of bright red hawthorns. "Mrs. Zhou, this is freshly air-freighted hawthorns, sweet and sour, perfect for stimulating the appetite. Would you like to try some?" Finn stood up and took the plate of hawthorn. "You've worked hard." He paused, glanced at the young secretary and instructed, "I'll be going for a media interview soon. Stay here and take good care of the lady." The little secretary's smile froze, but she didn't dare to object, pouting as she replied, "All right, General Zhou." Finn Zhou strode out of the room. The little secretary was clearly impatient, pacing back and forth in the room. Now and then I glanced at the door, looking as if my heart had already flown to the interview venue. "You don't need to stay here. Go take care of your own things." I spoke up, wanting to send her away. "Can't you know?" She refused immediately. "Director Zhou instructed me to follow you step by step and I must listen to Director Zhou." Heartache. Instead of staying alone in this suffocating room with her, let's go out. Let's go then. I stood up. Let's go take a look at the interview together. The little secretary's eyes lit up instantly and she hurriedly followed. The interview took place in the largest banquet hall of the hotel. When we arrived, the venue was already packed with media reporters, all pointing their cameras at the brilliant man on stage. Finn sat on stage calmly, answering reporters' questions with wit and humor, drawing laughter from the audience occasionally. A female reporter stood up and asked a question. General Zhou, congratulations on once again winning the most popular entrepreneur this year. We've noticed that many young women are among your fans, and everyone is very concerned about your relationship status. Are you married? I subconsciously clenched my hands. On stage, Finn Zhou faced the camera with decisive tone. No. The little secretary beside me let out a very soft chuckle. Phew, so she's never even married. Then why put on this act as Mrs. Zhou? Yes. I am not Mrs. Zhou. I am not registered with Finn Zhou and there was no wedding. At the time he told me that the marriage status of a listed company president must be disclosed for my safety, to avoid being targeted by his competitors, and that we couldn't marry for the time being. I believed him. The reporter followed up. And may I ask, Mr. Zhou, if you are currently single? On stage, Finn Zhou maintained his smile. He clearly said into the microphone. Yes. My head exploded with a loud buzz. The little secretary was on the side, almost unable to hide the expression of conceit and ridicule on his face. It felt as if all the blood in my body froze instantly. A moment of blackness before my eyes. My vision started to blur, everything around me spinning and distorting. Screams of terror erupted all around. Someone fainted. Lost a lot of blood. Before my consciousness completely plunged into darkness, I seemed to hear Finn's terrified scream, tearing through the distance. Wifey. 5. I woke up in the pungent disinfectant water. Finn sat on the edge of the hospital bed. The expensive suit he was wearing was wrinkled beyond recognition. Large, dried and dark bloodstains were still on his pants. He tightly held my hand with one hand and supported his forehead with the other. With his eyes closed, his brows tightly furrowed and dark circles under his eyes. It seems he has been here all night. He seemed to notice my movement and jolted awake suddenly. Seeing me with my eyes open, he immediately moved closer, my eyes filled with red blood vessels. His voice was extremely hoarse. Woke up? Honey, is there any discomfort? Stomachache. I didn't answer his question. Just barely raising the other hand, he reached toward his own abdomen. Where's the child? Finn's eyes grew red, tears welling in them. He lowered his head, his shoulders trembling slightly. I've lost my wife, our child. I've lost them. He was in agony as if he had lost his most cherished treasure. I closed my eyes, hot tears sliding from the corners of my eyes, quickly vanishing into my temples. He lifted his head, his face pressed against mine. Why? I was so careful, so attentive. He choked up. It might be because I ate too many hawthorns, they're blood activating. Listening to his belated confession, my temples throbbed with pain. My head hurts, I interrupted, my voice weak. Shut up. He immediately fell silent, looking at me with red eyes, lost and unsure what to do. After a long while he adjusted his emotions. Wifey, don't be too sad. We're still young, the kid. I'm not sad at all. I opened my eyes and calmly interrupted him. He froze as if he hadn't expected me to say that. It's okay, we will still have children when your body has recovered next time. I don't want to have children anymore. I looked at his eyes and clearly repeated it. His mouth opened and closed as if he didn't understand what I said. He looked at me with a complex gaze. I knew what he was thinking. He is fundamentally a very traditional and even conservative man. The perfect blueprint for life is a loving wife and children, a harmonious family. When he was first diagnosed with pregnancy, he was as excited as a teenager, personally renovating 2 children's rooms. One was painted sky blue filled with toy cars and dinosaurs, and the other was painted pink piled high with Barbie dolls and plush toys. Then he held me, his tone filled with unprecedented contentment. Whether it's a boy or a girl, we'll only have this one. We will give it all our love. Now those 2 meticulously prepared nurseries will never have their owners. This miscarriage was just a coincidence. Next time I'll be more careful, take better care of you, we. He tried to persuade me. I don't want children anymore. I repeated it for the third time. Finn looked at me, his gaze gradually dimming, becoming obscure. He looked at me, his eyes bloodshot. After a long while his voice was hoarse, almost inaudible. All right, as you say, child. We don't need it anymore. He paused as if he had made a great decision. Once you're discharged from the hospital, I'll get the sterilization surgery done. I won't let you suffer anymore. I forcefully pulled my hand out of his palm, turned over and faced away from him. I'm tired, want to take a nap. You can leave. A barely audible choke escaped his throat. All right, I won't bother you anymore. He stood up and tucked the corner of the blanket for me. Rest well. I'll go home and get you some clothes to change into. I stayed in the hospital for 3 days. But I really couldn't stand the smell of disinfectant and insisted on getting discharged. Returning to that spacious and cold home. A thought suddenly young up in my mind. I want to go back to my hometown to live for a while. 6. My hometown is a quiet coastal town. Finn didn't hesitate. Okay, once I finish this acquisition case I'm handling, I'll go back with you. It'll be like a getaway. I don't need you to come with me, I'll go back by myself to clear my head. His expression stiffened and he carefully observed my face. Sweetheart, have you been angry with me? Do you think I haven't taken good care of you and the kids? I pulled at the corner of my mouth. No, don't think too much. After a moment of silence, I continued. Also, I want to buy a house in my hometown. Okay, he immediately agreed as if eager to make up for something. I'll handle it. You can choose wherever you like. The next day he had everything arranged. A luxury top-floor apartment with ocean views on the first line. The keys were handed directly to me. On the property deed, only my name was written. Next, he transferred a huge sum of money to my card through a complex network of overseas accounts. The notification sound of the essence came on, and I stared at the long string of numbers, stunned. He explained in a voiceless tone, his smile bitter and desolate. It was supposed to be an education fund and upbringing expenses for the child, but they won't need it anymore. Take it, spend it freely. As he said this, a tear traced a path through the corner of his eye. I looked at the cold notification on my phone screen. Suddenly I felt as if my eyes were stung, burning hot, burning hot. I gazed at the man before me who had grown gaunt and asked softly. Finjo, can you eat spicy hot pot with me? In the hot pot restaurant, the pungent aroma mixed with steam washed over my face. Boss, is there a private room available? I asked, wearing a mask. The busy boss didn't raise his head. Gone already. We'll have to queue. There's still one empty spot in the main hall. Finn pulled my hand, saying, let's just sit in the main hall, it's fine. I looked at him in surprise. Before, when we went out together, he never allowed us to sit in the main hall. He would always frown, saying it was too noisy and chaotic, lacked privacy, and we had to sit in the best private room. This time I shook my head instead. No, let's wait for the private box instead. I avoided his touch. Fewer people, it's quieter. His face is too recognizable, I don't want to be caught by anyone at this moment. I waited for over an hour before finally getting a small private room. The red oil base quickly boiled, with dense chili peppers and Sichuan peppercorns swirling. Finn only ate a few bites before tiny beads of sweat broke out on his forehead. Burning hot, I gasped and downed a whole bottle of iced water in one go. How about switching to a couple's pot? You can have the clear soup side. Seeing his disheveled appearance, I suggested. No need. Finn immediately put down his chopsticks and nervously handed me a glass of water. Gently patting my back, eat slowly, drink some water to ease it. He didn't eat much, and his thin lips were already swollen and red, as if stained with blood. Just as I lowered my head to scrub a piece of tripe, he suddenly spoke up. I'm going on a business trip tomorrow. Let's go get the certificate when I come back. My hand holding the tripe froze in midair. He was very enthusiastic. I consulted a master and he said next Thursday is a lucky day, the last good day of the year. As he spoke, he opened his phone to show me. On the phone screen was a highly elaborate and exquisite design for a wedding dress. After we register, we'll have the wedding. I've already had the Italian side rush a custom order for the wedding dress. Take a look at this style, do you like it? He looked at me, his eyes shining brilliantly, like a child eager to show off a treasure. The tripe slowly curled and hardened in the scorching red oil. I asked softly, You said before that to protect me, you couldn't register and couldn't have a wedding? Finn's excitement on his face froze. Internal struggles within the group were intense before and several projects were stuck. I made too many enemies and I was afraid they would target you. But once this acquisition is completed, no one will be able to shake me again. I have the ability to protect you well. He tightened my hand. I know, I made you suffer many grievances before. It won't happen again. I want you to stand by my side with honor and dignity. I want everyone to know, you are my only wife, Finjo. That overcooked tripe sank into the bubbling red oil, instantly disappearing. Next Thursday. Okay. I stared at the pot, my voice light. Finn smiled broadly that week. Eagerly he pushed the phone closer to my face again and asked, "Do you like this wedding dress?" I glanced at the luxurious wedding dress on the screen and nodded with little emotion. It's quite good. I'll have them speed up the process right away." He put away his phone and typed quickly to make arrangements. "What about the wedding? Where do you want to hold it? Bali? The Maldives? Or the European castle you mentioned before? Let me arrange it." I lowered my gaze, forcefully bit through the crisp gong kai in my mouth and mumbled, "Let's eat first. We can talk about these things later." Finn's high spirits were somewhat cooled by my cold water. He reluctantly put away his phone but didn't stop dreaming, planning by himself. "I think Bali and the Maldives are both good, sunny beaches. Castles in Europe could also be added to the list for gradual selection. The best time for the wedding is either spring or autumn, not too cold and not too hot, so you'll be comfortable in your wedding dress." He spoke enthusiastically about his future plans, considering every detail carefully. I didn't hear a word of it. After finishing the meal and paying the bill, the enthusiastic owner gave us a pair of festive red couple cups. Looking at the pair of cups, a thought flashed through my mind, reminding me that I had forgotten something very important. When I went to your company last time, I think I dropped an earring. I'd like to look for it." Finn, suspecting nothing, put his arm around my waist and walked out. "Okay, perfect. I was just going back to the company to get some documents." The Zhou building remains brightly lit in the night. I walked straight to Finjo's desk and pretended to look down at my desk. "Did you find it?" he asked, walking over with some documents. I shook my head. No, I might have remembered the wrong place. My gaze fell on the mug on his desk, printed with the logo of a well-known designer. "Finjo, where is that mug I gave you before?" It was the one I secretly made at a pottery studio with my own hands for our 4th anniversary. A pair of cute and quirky couple mugs, one featuring a fierce little tiger with his name written on the bottom, and the other a little squirrel hugging a pine cone with my name on it. I remember back then I gave him the tiger cup, but he insisted on taking away my squirrel cup which belonged to me. "This looks like you. I want this so that I can think of you every time I drink." Finn froze for a moment, then seemed to just remember this. "Oh, you mean that handmade cup? Nora liked it, so she traded this limited edition one with me." Nora Lu. That little secretary who sent hawthorns, openly mocked me in the office and fell into his arms. Turns out he never actually fired her. A cold wave of anger surged to my head. I clenched my fists, my body trembling with rage. "It's my cup." My voice suddenly shot up, sharp enough to pierce the office's quiet. "Make her return it immediately." My voice was too loud, reaching the secretary's office. The office door was pushed open, Nora peering in with the familiar little squirrel cup in her hand. Her face wore an expression of innocence and smugness. "General Zhou, Mrs. Are you referring to this cup?" I rushed forward abruptly, reaching out to take back the cup. Nora seemed startled by my action, gasped, and her wrist slipped unintentionally. Clack. The cup crashed heavily onto the floor, shattering instantly into pieces, splattering everywhere. Nora Lu covered her mouth, her eyes quickly misting over. Her voice was timid and pitiful, filled with complete grievance. I'm sorry, Mrs. Zhou, I didn't mean to." I looked at the scattered pieces on the ground. Especially since the bottom of the cup was already shattered beyond repair, I inexplicably felt a sense of relief. Before I could speak, Finjo suddenly acted like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Shouting loudly at Nora Lu, who stood at the door. "Are you useless? You can't even hold a cup properly." The fury and tenderness in his voice were unmistakable, as if the cup were some priceless treasure. I was taken aback by his overreaction. Finn abruptly crouched down, trembling fingers reaching for the sharp pieces of broken ceramic. Bit by bit, carefully, as if still hoping to piece it back together. Nora Lou was completely stunned, her face as white as paper, probably never having seen Finn Zhou get so angry at her. General Zhou. Shut up. Finn Zhou didn't even raise his head, his tone icy. Sharp edges of the broken porcelain, his finger accidentally got cut by a gash. A drop of blood instantly welled up, falling onto the white porcelain piece, standing out strikingly. I stepped forward, grabbing his wrist. Don't pick it up. He stubbornly tried to break free. No, this is what you made. I wore a stern face, my heart remained calm, even feeling a bit like laughing. Didn't you cherish it when it was good? Now that it's broken, you're suddenly acting all deep affection. He abruptly looked up at me, his eyes filled with shock and deep hurt. I didn't have the heart to appreciate his expression, impatiently urging him on. Quickly go wash your hands and bandage them. I'm tired, I need to go rest. He reluctantly let go, slowly standing up. All right, you sit and wait for me, I'll be back soon. As he passed by Nora, whose face was ashen, he didn't stop, only leaving behind a cold remark. You're fired. Complete all your work within today and then get out of the company. Never let me see you again. Nora's legs went weak and she almost collapsed to the ground. But this time Finn Zhou didn't even spare her a glance, let alone reach out to help. She finally managed to steady herself by holding onto the table. I didn't look at her again and turned to Chin, assistant beside me. Could you please ask the cleaning lady to come over and thoroughly clean up this pile of trash? I stood nearby, watching the lady sweep every last bit of debris into the trash bin, ensuring nothing was left behind. Then I said to Assistant Chen, I've split up with Finn, don't mention me in front of him from now on. Chen's face showed great surprise, but her good professional demeanor allowed her to quickly compose herself. She merely hesitated and nodded. All right, Mr. Zhou. She paused, seemingly realizing that the name was no longer appropriate, trying to think of another way to address her, but she opened her mouth and ultimately said nothing. He probably never knew my name. Finn Zhou returned quickly, with only a bandage casually stuck on his finger, the bloodstains not yet completely wiped away. Wifey, let's go home. His tone was eager as he tried to take my hand. I made a sound and stuck my hands in my pockets. When I got home, he started packing for his trip tomorrow. I took a shower and then went to bed, sleeping an incredibly deep and peaceful sleep. Woke up the next day, Finn had already made breakfast and was holding a French press ready to brew coffee. I walked over and gently held his hand. Don't drink coffee. I took out that bottle which looked just like ordinary mineral water from my bag and handed it to him. Drink this, I bought it specially for you. A noticeable wave of emotion surged through Finn Zhou's eyes. He never refused anything I gave him. This time was no exception, not even asking what it was. Picked it up and twisted off the cap, tilted his head back and drank it down in a gulp, leaving not a drop. After finishing, he wiped his mouth and smiled at me. What kind of water is this? It has quite a unique taste. I looked at him, a genuine relaxed smile appearing on my face. You like it just fine. Seeing him off at the door, he habitually leaned forward to kiss me. I tilted my head slightly and the kiss landed on my cheek. He didn't mind much, grabbed his suitcase and his tone was light. Wifey, wait for me to come back. I stood inside the door looking into his eyes and said calmly, Finn Zhou, goodbye. After Finn Zhou left, I cleared all traces of mine in the house as quickly as possible. Clothes, skincare products, books I've read, the bowl and chopsticks I often use in the kitchen. I cleaned it exceptionally carefully, not missing a single strand of hair. All the items were packed into boxes and shipped to the distant coastal town. When the last box was lifted away by the delivery driver, I stood in the vast, cold living room looking around. Not a trace of my existence remains here. Winter in my hometown is very warm. Even in December, the temperature still hovers around 20 degrees. The wind mixed with the taste of the sea feels very comfortable on the body. I opened a small cat cafe. The cats in the shop were all well cared for, with glossy fur and affectionate personalities, quickly gaining fame among the young people, and the business was good. On a perfectly lazy afternoon bathed in sunshine, I was napping on the sofa by the window, holding a ragdoll cat. The sun made both me and the cat feel warm and cozy. The doorbell tinkled softly. Welcome. I looked up and greeted. The moment I saw the person clearly, my body froze and my arm holding the cat tightened unconsciously. It was Finjo. He had lost a lot of weight, his cheeks slightly sunken, his complexion an unhealthy pallor. His expression was heavy with fatigue and haggardness. He walked toward me. I tensed up, my fingers unconsciously clutching the soft fur of the cat in my arms. The cat uncomfortably meowed a few times, twisting its body. Finn stopped in front of me, his gaze falling on the cat in my arms. His look at me was very unfamiliar, as if he were looking at a stranger he had never met. But within that unfamiliar background, there struggled a hint of confusion and bewilderment. "Excuse me," he said, his voice hoarse. "Are you selling this cat?" The detachment and strangeness in his tone were so real. My heart sank back to its original place. That bottle of Amnesia water really worked. "Excuse me." I heard my own voice, calm yet unfamiliar. "This one isn't for sale." He insisted. "I really like it, I'd pay any price. Tens of thousands, or even over 100,000, just name your price." I shook my head, my tone resolute. "Cannot be sold for any price." A clear sense of desolation crossed Finjo's face. He seemed slightly confused as to why he was so drituo, muttering softly. "Sorry, I just saw it in the window outside and it felt very familiar. It feels really bad, as if I've forgotten something extremely important." I froze for a moment. Before I got pregnant, I had a very beautiful ragdoll cat named Coco. But right after I found out I was pregnant, Finn took advantage of the excuse that pregnant women shouldn't be around pets, ignoring my crying and protests, and secretly took Coco away while I wasn't looking. After leaving, I searched everywhere and finally managed to find Coco again. "The ragdoll cats all look the same." I averted my gaze, avoiding his confused look. "You can look at the other cats in the store." He didn't look at any other cats again, just shook his head listlessly, like a child who had lost his way, and slowly turned away. The next day I met him again at the corner of the street in front of the store. He completely forgot he had seen me yesterday, frowning as he looked at his phone map. Seeing me was like grasping a lifeline. "Hello, could you please tell me how to get to Time Cafe?" I, like a truly helpful stranger, gave him directions. "Turn left at the intersection ahead, about 100 meters down." "Okay, thank you." He said thank you and left in a hurry. Time Cafe. It was a small shop with a very nice name that I had mentioned to him a long time ago by chance. The convenience store clerk was very accurate. The person who drank the Amnesia water will completely forget. Even if they meet again, they will not leave any memory. He truly, completely forgot me. Really good. Later, I saw news about him in the financial and economic news. The Y Resort Hotel, which he successfully acquired and renovated, held a grand opening and was renamed Wizho Resort Hotel. Journalists interviewed him at the opening ceremony. "General Zhou, may I ask if there is a special meaning behind naming the hotel this way?" Finn Zhou, in front of the camera, wore a well-tailored suit with a barely noticeable vacant smile. "Wei Zhou, it's the name I gave my child. This hotel is a gift I gave to my child. Chen Wei Zhu." That was the name he spent several days looking up in dictionaries when we first found out we were pregnant, and he finally settled on it. He said it could be used for both boys and girls. The reporter obviously did her homework, teasing. "President Zhou, you're not even married, let alone single, yet you've already thought of a name for your future child." Finn Zhou's brow tightened suddenly, as if he had heard something utterly absurd, his tone laced with strong disapproval of Lila. "Who says I'm not married? I am married, I have a wife, I have children. But a month ago, when you gave us an exclusive interview, you personally said you were single and unmarried." Finn Zhou seemed to be struck hard on the head by these words, his face instantly turning ashen. He painfully clutched his forehead, his body swaying slightly. His eyes became confused and agitated, muttering to himself. "Wrong. No, it's not right. I have a wife. I definitely have a wife." He abruptly lifted his head, facing the crowd around him. Like a trapped, desperate beast, screaming heart-wrenchingly. "Wifey! Wifey!" Under everyone's astonished gaze, he suddenly lunged towards the hotel's constant temperature swimming pool, diving in without warning. He had almost drowned as a child, with deep psychological scars from the water, and couldn't swim at all. Chin, panicked, followed him down to save him. But Finn stubbornly pushed her away, struggling and flailing in the water. He yelled desperately into the air, his voice fragmented and broken. Wifey. Where are you? How come? You're not coming to save me. I watched him helplessly sink into the clear blue pool water through the cold screen of my phone. I remembered our first meeting. It was also in such water that he jumped into the sea out of despair after his parents' death. It was me who jumped in and saved him. He fell in love with me then, obsessively enclosing me in his world. Darling, you saved me, I love you. But his love was not what I wanted. This tangled and confusing fate began with water. Now it's finally water. A second before he completely sank into the water, a heart-wrenching roar emitted with his last bit of strength came from the screen. Wifey. Later I intermittently heard some rumors about him. They said the young president of Zhou Corporation suffered from an extremely severe hysteria. He no longer manages the company, but spends his days wandering to places he and his wife have been to, stopping anyone he meets and asking deliriously, "Where is my wife? Have you seen my wife?" Whole text is complete.